The Kardashians are in itself a breed of their own, and they have generated such huge success within their 20-year career. I was not a big fan at the beginning. When I lived in Singapore, I used to watch them out of boredom from time to time, but I didn't really understand their appeal. So I stopped, and I actually only during the past 5 or 6 years I realized there's something more to their success. Unfortunately, you can also see and observe what is happening to males in our society. If you keep watching the show from the beginning of 2007 when they started out, it is indeed a little bit concerning when you consider how the male characters are being treated. So let us look at the show from a more generalized standpoint. I'm personally a fan of Kourtney. I believe she's the most down-to-earth and intelligent. That's probably the reason why she had times when she was outcasted by her sisters. Although you never really know if the storyline is completely true, because I am aware that most of it is entirely scripted, and it has to be that way. I have been part of some TV casting shows and have seen backstage how they were telling the characters to behave in a certain way to make the entire show more entertaining. Normal life is simply not predictable and cannot always be entertaining, so it is normal to script reality shows. Kim Kardashian was never my favorite, but I believe she developed and expanded into a more intelligent and interesting character throughout her career. This is the success of several PR teams and people in the background who analyze what is popular with the target audience and how they want to perceive the person. So the publicity team constantly examines and thinks about how they can improve the character to make it more successful and enticing to the fans of the celebrity. Some years ago, when I was lying sick in bed for several weeks, I started to binge watch them, and they began to fascinate me. At the beginning, the press didn't like the Kardashians, and they mostly wrote very negative things about them, although I have learned that this can also be a PR stunt to make something more interesting, because people usually like drama and negativity, and it attracts a lot more viewers, if you believe it or not. And they had a very difficult time to get on the covers of certain magazines. I remember that Anna Wintour from Vogue magazine didn't like them, and they were also kept out of several events and parties. People called them trashy. So I believe they changed their celebrity PR company. I actually do know which one they use. I think it's PMK BNC now, and probably another one. So they have the largest and best Hollywood PR company. There's also another one that I know that I wanted to work with, and it's not easy to get in. You need to have contacts, and they need to like you. So it's not the case that PR companies work with everyone only because they have the assets. Anyway, in my case, they were ready to work with me. They liked me, and the only reason I couldn't do it was because I had to leave the United States. So from what I have seen, the PR companies, they need to understand what you are doing, and then they basically create your character with you. And if you are not open or ready to do that, they will not work with you. They will tell you, oh, you might be better off with somebody else, because you represent their image and they will also represent yours. So from that point of view, I was always a little bit upset at the beginning of the career when I saw that Rob Kardashian was not really promoted in the same way compared to his sisters. It appeared to me that he was outcasted on purpose, and what I found the most odd was that Scott, the boyfriend of Kourtney Kardashian, might also have been scripted in a way that made him appear like a bad boy. And somehow, even a little bit like a loser type. There was always trouble with Scott. He was partying too much and then he was taking a lot of drugs. And in the end, I think he cheated on Kourtney. I'm not sure about that one. So I did binge watch the show, but I didn't keep track about everything. It wasn't always interesting. Sometimes, of course, it was boring, but overall, I think I actually didn't watch the first five. I think I watched from the fifth season to the 15th, which is a lot, I have to admit. And the first seasons were pretty interesting, especially when you're lying bored in bed. So I started liking them a lot because they were funny, they were cursing. I have always watched them from the perspective that I knew about the programming in society and what they are doing mostly. There were several things that I didn't like. For example, when they called each other the WHORE word, promoting a little bit of a slutty image from time to time. But from another standpoint, it is also boring if you portray an average, normal life. The crazy, outlandish, and sometimes even in apostrophes, slutty character is simply more interesting to watch and also funnier. So it might not even be always about degrading society. Most people are attracted to drama and outrageous characters. People also love to watch eccentricity. And because I have studied PR and read a lot about marketing and promotion, I do know that. And I've also always observed and studied the entertainment industry from a very young age. For that reason, I can see things, and I know that sometimes it's not to harm society, but to appeal to the simplicity of human nature. It is an undeniable fact that crazy and unusual characters and people attract much larger audiences. Because people don't watch normal people, it's boring and you have them in your home every day, so you want something that you haven't seen before. Moreover, I do believe that the Kardashians have become more normal and therefore people call them boring now. They tend to dress more elegant and feminine than before. Their homes became more fashionable and classic, way more tasteful. This has actually started when Kim Kardashian began dating Kanye West, who in some way restricted Kim Kardashian's eccentric style, probably mostly for his own image. But they have changed over time, and I do believe when they were at their, in apostrophes, trashiest, as the media tend to call them, they were actually more funny and more interesting. So they might not understand that they might have to switch if they want to keep up their success. They might have to switch back a little bit to this more funny and less elegant side of themselves, because now they are popular with their peers. They are invited to all the parties, but they are losing out with their audience. And I personally believe because they became scared, they just try to represent this image for the Hollywood crowd, but it's completely different to appeal to an audience or to your peers inside the Hollywood crowd. It's two very different styles, and that is something that they probably have lost track of. I have witnessed that the media has cut off a lot of interesting characters during the past 10 years maybe, and has become more normal. It somehow adjusted. It was in fact about 7 years from now, starting around 2017, Many artists now attempt to be this beauty character, which is fine. The fashion changes, but it also is not really what appeals to a large audience. And there's some edge that we need, and most people love to see something unusual, and now everything seems a little bit too normal. Same with the Kardashians, they have become too adjusted. I think it changed around the 13th, 14th season. That's when I noticed it. And I just binge watched them when I was lying in bed. So I was not a regular watcher, but I binge watched them in a short amount of time. Then they became boring, then I stopped. Actually, I tried to watch the new season, and usually they're so boring now, although they look very well put together, beautiful. I love to watch what they wear and the fashion, but they seem very controlled in what they say. They try not to provoke too much, and the only provoking parts now are arguments or fights where they kick each other, and that somehow I don't really feel attracted to that part. It seems very pushed and forced, like they don't really know what to do anymore. So most of the time when I watch the Kardashians now, new seasons, the new episodes, I'm on my phone or I'm doing something else, and it's just not entertaining. Going back to Rob Kardashian, he was outcasted from the beginning. He didn't seem to get the same attention and the same support. And I wouldn't have thought that at the beginning. Now I can see the pattern that the men of this show were oppressed on purpose. It happened somehow to all of their males, which I notice now. Whoever the Kardashians were dating, they were somehow poorly represented. There was one boyfriend that Kim Kardashian married very early on, and he was a very attractive, I think, basketball player. I'm not sure about that. Oh, Chris Humphrey was his name. They showed how he was, excuse me, burping into her face, and it was something that you don't need to put on a show. It was disturbing to watch, and it destroyed his character. And I believe he got angry because he noticed that they were somehow trying to misrepresent him, which probably led to their divorce. He didn't like the spotlight, and he tried to stay away from the cameras. So in the end they separated, although they seemed like a really good match. It looked like he was genuinely in love with Kim Kardashian, who always appeared tiny compared to him. Even when you Google him today, most of the time he's still dating women who look very similar to his ex Kim Kardashian, which usually means that you didn't exactly get over your ex-girlfriend. Anyway. Yeah, I feel sad because I don't really think the Kardashians have the intellect. They're very beautiful, lovely people with good hearts. I think they're very intelligent women, but they are not that intelligent to understand the underlying motives of these companies and of the script writers for their show. They don't seem to understand how this shapes society and how they get into young girls' heads. Also, how they seem to undermine the male characters of our world on purpose. I believe Scott was purposefully prevented from having a successful business by lacking enough promotion or being ridiculed and labeled the irresponsible guy. Overall, he seemed like a shady character. The most horrific aspect was how they treated Bruce Jenner, and I believe that this was the show and how it was scripted, and it was always pushing Bruce Jenner into a corner, making him almost invisible or look stupid. He often tried to voice his discontent with the show, but usually was disregarded. From this psychological point of view, one shouldn't be surprised when Bruce Jenner, who was a highly accomplished athlete, finally decided he wanted to become a woman himself. Maybe there was an underlying sense how all the masculine aspects were always undermined and oppressed in the show. Rob Kardashian compensated with overeating and later drug abuse. Even his own show failed because Khloe Kardashian didn't like that another woman was involved in the show. All of the male businesses from Scott Disick and Rob Kardashian, also Bruce, didn't seem to make it until Bruce finally decided he wanted to become a woman. And then the media loved him and celebrated him. What do you think? What does this do to people who sit in front of the screen, are tired and hypnotized by these underlying messages? You can even watch with the current Barbie movie a similar pattern where men just seem to be accessories, never really in the spotlight or important to begin with. They are also slightly feminized. Overall, nobody really pays that much attention to them and are somehow just ridiculed. I personally believe we need strong men in our society. We need masculine men, and it is a very dangerous thing to do, not forward thinking. Furthermore, it is not good for women to be told over and over again how they are the prize. We are queens and men need to follow us. It turns women into narcissists and diminishes the confidence of males. Men today believe no matter what they do, it's not going to be appreciated. So if you look at that, it's kind of understandable that more and more men, especially young men, consider transitioning to the other gender if there's no way they will be seen and appreciated for who they are. Men need to feel that they matter in our society. My opinion is that there is a psychological aspect to more and more men wanting to become women, and it's not as simple as just being born in the wrong body. We women need to start treating men better and disregarding what is going on inside the media, what we watch on TV, the messages we get, how we are special, we are the queens, or we are the better gender, we are somehow superior. This will lead to men becoming exactly what we say about them. And emasculating men is something extremely dangerous for the overall society and for the future. You can be part of the problem, or you can be the one who makes a difference and makes it better. So please be kind to men in society wherever you go. Look at them with love and sweetness and understanding and appreciation. Don't blame them for everything, and don't try to tell them, that you are the better gender. It is simply very destructive. We do need men and they need us. But we also need to encourage them to express their masculinity, to not feel ashamed or belittled. No matter what messages you see in movie or TV shows or in newspapers, you have to try to overcome the programming and the hypnosis. You have to constantly be objective and teach yourself that you are the ruler of your mind, and don't take these things too seriously or they will control you and destroy you. I'd also like to point out that there are way more men who transition to become a woman than the opposite, which confirms my claim and should show you something. I love you all. I hope to see you soon, speak to you soon, and have a lovely day, lovely evening, wherever you are in this world. Bye bye and take care.